Okay, another day, another smartphone comparison, and in this video, we're putting the newly launched OnePlus 15 head-to-head with the iPhone 17. But just to make things interesting, we're also throwing in last year's OnePlus 13 into the mix. And honestly, this comparison is a fun one because OnePlus went in a completely different direction this year. The 15 makes some bold trade-offs. No Hasselblad branding, smaller camera sensors, a lower display resolution, and even weaker haptics. On paper, it seems like a downgrade. Meanwhile, Apple's gone the other way. The iPhone 17 finally gives the base model that smooth 120Hz ProMotion display, a new 48-megapixel ultra-wide camera, and bumps the starting storage to a much more reasonable 256 GB. As for the OnePlus 13, it still stands out as a really solid option. You get the powerful Snapdragon 8 Elite under the hood and that Hasselblad partnership for the cameras. But which one should you actually pick in 2025? So let's break it all down, and while you're here, make sure to subscribe for more deep dive comparisons like this one. Okay, let's start with design and ergonomics. The OnePlus 15 feels cleaner and more industrial this year. The new Sandstorm finish gives it a matte, grippy texture that hides smudge as well, and the whole thing's just flatter and lighter. This Sandstorm variant gets a glass fiber back, while the black and purple versions use either Gorilla Glass 7i or Crystal Shield glass. So depending on which color you pick, you also get a different material feel. Overall, it's a really comfortable phone to use, and despite that 6.7-inch display, it doesn't feel bulky or oversized in the hand. That said, I still prefer the frosty matte back on the 13. It has a nicer in-hand feel. Side by side, the change is obvious. The circular camera bump is gone, and it's now a squared-off module, sharper, simpler, and clearly inspired by Oppo's design language. The new nano-ceramic metal frame is aerospace grade, 26% lighter than titanium, tougher, and better with heat. It feels dense yet cool, kind of like if ceramic and metal had a baby. Durability-wise, the OnePlus 15 is rated IP66, IP68, IP69, and IP69K, giving it the best protection of the three, so it's resistant to dust, water, and can even handle high-pressure jets. The OnePlus 13 and iPhone 17 both do fine here, but neither goes this far. The 13 still feels great, solid build, nice grip, and yes, the alert slider's still here. Meanwhile, the iPhone 17 is the most compact and balanced of the bunch, light, premium, and classic Apple comfort. Now we do need to talk about the display on the OnePlus 15 because this one's a bit of an oddball. It's the first phone with a 165Hz LTPO AMOLED panel, which sounds awesome, but you probably know by now that the screen resolution drops from 2K to 1.5K. And the 165Hz refresh rate isn't available when scrolling or swiping through the UI. That's capped at 120Hz. Only select games like Call of Duty Mobile can take advantage of that high refresh rate, and it does support 165 FPS gameplay, but I'll talk about that later. So no, you're not seeing the 165Hz magic in the UI or everywhere else. The 120Hz experience is still super smooth, but to be fair, you already had that on the OnePlus 13. In fact, the 13 still hits harder on paper with QHD plus resolution and 4500 nits of peak brightness, but the 15 fights back with smarter HDR tone mapping and Ultra HDR support, giving you richer contrast and more lifelike color. It also has some of the thinnest and most symmetrical bezels I've ever seen on a smartphone. As for the iPhone 17, it finally brings 120Hz to the base model and pushes 3000 nits of peak brightness. It's the smallest display here at 6.3 inches, but day to day it's buttery smooth, incredibly bright, and the color accuracy is classic Apple. Easily one of the most premium screens you can get right now. Okay, now let's talk performance because this is where things get really interesting. The OnePlus 15 runs what the company calls a tri-chip system, and it's kind of wild. There's a new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5, a 330Hz touch response chip, and a Wi-Fi G2 chip that keeps connections rock solid even with weak signal. Put all that together, CPU, touch, and connectivity, and you get the holy trinity of performance. Compared to the OnePlus 13, which had the Snapdragon 8 Elite, you're looking at a roughly 25% boost on Antutu. Geekbench numbers tell a similar story. The 15 comfortably edges out both the 13 and the iPhone 17 in both single-core and multi-core performance. It does run a little warmer under sustained load, but it barely throttles. That means even during long gaming sessions or heavy multitasking, you're not going to see sudden dips in performance. Speaking of gaming, the OnePlus 15 takes things up a notch. Like I mentioned before, it can run select games at a full 165 FPS thanks to OnePlus's OP FPS Max tech. This isn't fake frame interpolation, it's true native 165 FPS on a custom 165Hz panel. We tested it with Call of Duty Mobile, and even after half an hour, the phone held that frame rate steady. Now, will it matter for everyone? Probably not. Casual gamers won't see a huge difference beyond smoother motion, but for competitive players, that faster response and fluid gameplay can be a legit edge. Either way, it's super cool to see a phone hit native 165 FPS because right now, no one else does. That's not to say the OnePlus 13 or the iPhone 17 are bad at gaming. In fact, both can hit 120 FPS in supported titles, and Apple's A19 chip is powerful enough to run full AAA games that you usually don't get on Android. But if you're chasing pure performance and high frame rates, then the OnePlus 15 is the new king. Alright, let's talk battery, and this one's pretty straightforward. The OnePlus 15 is packing a huge 7300 mAh cell. That's one of the biggest we've seen on a flagship smartphone. Pair that with 120-watt wired charging, you're going from 0 to 50% in just about 17 minutes, and a full charge takes around 40. Plus there's 50-watt wireless charging, making it a dream setup for gamers or heavy users. The OnePlus 13 isn't far behind, 6000 mAh battery, 100-watt wired charging, and 50-watt wireless. Still excellent endurance and super fast top-ups. For most people, that easily lasts a full day and more. Then there's the iPhone 17, just 3692 mAh on paper, but Apple's efficiency is next level. The A19 chip and iOS optimization easily push it through a full day. Charging also got faster, 40-watt wired, which is 50% in 20 minutes and full in about 90. So yeah, smaller battery, but still really dependable in real-world use. Okay, cameras, and this is really where you can see OnePlus shifting its priorities. The OnePlus 15 has moved to smaller 50-megapixel sensors and officially ends its partnership with Hasselblad. Instead, OnePlus has moved to its own in-house Detail Max engine for image processing. The photos look good, sharp and detailed, but they do lean a little too saturated at times. Skin tones especially can come out warmer than they should. On the plus side, the video capabilities are seriously strong. You get 10-bit log, 4K at 120 FPS video with Dolby Vision HDR, and even 8K at 30. So yeah, the tools are there, but it's also clear that OnePlus is no longer trying to chase the absolute best camera crown of the year. They've made trade-offs to focus on performance and battery instead. The OnePlus 13, on the other hand, feels more like the camera-focused OnePlus we used to know. You still get that triple 50-megapixel setup, and thanks to Hasselblad's color tuning, the images come out balanced and natural. It's versatile across all focal lengths, and low-light performance holds up really well. Honestly, between the two, the 13 is the better OnePlus camera phone, in my opinion. Then you've got the iPhone 17, which takes the classic Apple route, a dual setup with a 48-megapixel main and a 48-megapixel ultra-wide. But here, it's not about the hardware, it's the processing. Colors are consistent, dynamic range is excellent, and low-light shots look clean without getting noisy or crushed. And video quality is still the gold standard. Smooth stabilization, natural tone, and that selfie camera with center stage is generally one of the best front-facing setups out there. If you just want a phone that takes great photos and videos every single time without any tweaking, the iPhone 17 still makes that experience effortless. Now let's talk about the little things, the haptics, speakers, and all those extras that actually make these phones feel premium day to day. On the OnePlus 15, the speakers sound better this year, louder and more balanced, but the haptics have taken a hit. They feel softer compared to last year, and that iconic alert slider is gone. It's been replaced by a new programmable plus key, which is handy but doesn't quite have that same charm. The OnePlus 13, on the other hand, keeps things classic, strong crisp haptics, and the alert slider still right where it should be. It just feels more familiar and satisfying to use. As for the iPhone 17, its peak polish, haptics are perfect, stereo speakers are rich and full, and the overall experience from hardware to software just feels cohesive. As for software, the OnePlus 15 ships with Oxygen OS 16 based on Android 16. I'm not going to deep dive into it here because we've already done a full video on that, so if you're curious, do check it out. But in short, faster animations, deeper customization, and a bunch of new AI features that actually work pretty well. The OnePlus 13 still runs on Oxygen OS 15 based on Android 16, but the Oxygen OS 16 rollout has already started, so most users should see the update hit their phones by the end of November. On the iPhone 17, you're getting iOS 26, and if you're an Apple user, you're probably going to swear by it anyway. But I think even Apple fans would agree that Apple Intelligence is nowhere near the same level as what OnePlus is currently offering in AI right now. That said, Apple still wins on longevity, 6 to 7 years of iOS updates versus 4 Android updates on both the OnePlus phones. Okay, so keeping everything in mind, which one should you go for? Well, the OnePlus 13 is still the classic all-rounder. Great design, solid cameras, and that signature OnePlus feel. The iPhone 17 is easily the safest bet, especially if you're an Apple user. Super consistent, great cameras, excellent software, and long-term reliability. But the real standout this year for me is the OnePlus 15. It might look like a downgrade on paper, but once you actually start to use it, it's easily the most balanced phone of the bunch. The performance is top-notch, the battery life is excellent, and that new 165Hz FPS gaming feels ridiculously smooth. If the cameras were a bit better, this would have been an easy A+. But even as it stands, it's a solid A, and that's still pretty great. Alright, that's it for this one. Hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, like, maybe subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.